So I just got done doing some my 2023 readings from my other channel, and then I really wanted to do that video on Pluto and Aquarius. But there's something else that's been weighing on my mind lately, and I wanted to talk about it, and that is telepathy is not the superpower people think it is. It's just not. A lot of people either don't believe in it at all, or they think that it's like a game changer, right? Okay, here's the thing. I have dealt with telepathy more than I care to say, and I actually don't like it. Has it been beneficial from a time or two? Sure, but it's also very discouraging, because when you know what people are thinking, it's like, you understand how much people lie and deceive, okay? And it's so funny because I have these very Christian parents who don't believe telepathy exists. Like, the Bible says nobody can know your thoughts but God. I mean, actually, no, it doesn't. It says nobody knows the thoughts of a man's heart except for God. Not even yourself. We don't even understand our deepest thoughts in our heart. This is a different type of thinking here. We can't even have words for it. Okay? That's what that means. We don't understand our own heart. The depths of who we are, that belongs to God alone, to the great creator alone. But telepathy is so very, very real. I mean, they even have whole government operations and psyops that train people on how to do this stuff and tap into the mind, right? Because men don't usually have things as easy and natural as women do. Women are naturally easier and more intuitive. Oftentimes, some young men actually resort to selling their soul to get this kind of a talent, right? Literally selling their soul to demons and letting themselves become possessed so they can have this gift. And they become what you call a psychic vampire. But what I wanted to say is, like, there's something else too, okay? Like, for, people who have a Christian upbringing, it's so funny because Jesus had certain examples where he actually obviously was doing remote viewing, and because he had seen someone under a tree and blah, blah, blah. And he even mentioned that he knew the thoughts that were in men before and stuff. And that's the reason why, he didn't want to trust himself to them and stuff. Okay. What was I thinking? Because this was important. Sorry, I think I got sidetracked because I thought it was one part in the Bible where, like, he told his disciples to only take a staff, no money, no this, no that. And I was like, come on. There's even, like, rumors that Jesus might have been a druid. And I need to do a show on that sometime, okay? I'm like, Christians are so, like, they're so against, like, anything that looks remotely magic. And I'm like, oh my God, you wouldn't like Moses then. I mean, he actually has magical formulas and curses in, like, the book of Numbers and stuff. So I don't know. And if Jesus told his disciples to only carry a staff, that's like a magic tool, guys. Hate to tell you. They're like, what, it says magicians go to hell in the Bible? Well, it actually is more like sorcery, which is pharmaca, which is more like your local pharmacy. But, we got to remember that the interpretation of the Bible was by the people who wanted to control us. I promise you, the Bible does have great power, and it does have great truths in it, but you have to have the spirit of love to see it. Because there were very evil people who wanted to control us and interpret it in a way where they knew they couldn't destroy the Bible. They knew they couldn't control or completely destroy the message of Christ. They knew that, because Christ is more powerful than them. But they did want to control the narrative. So they tried to change it. They knew the more they tried to suppress it, the more people would actually follow the truth. So instead they tried to deceive. That's why Jesus came at the beginning of the age of Pisces. He knew they were going to try to deceive no matter what. But he also knew that message, the main message they couldn't destroy, which is love. There is no law that comes up against the law of love. We were created by love, through love, and for love. And when you actually tap into that, we are so much more powerful than we ever know. We will eventually become the water bearers in the age of Aquarius and bear that living water and probably have the power that Jesus came here to show us. Right now, we are too stunned from narcissistic gaslighting to have the powers in us. We should be walking on water too. All these people that say they believe in Jesus but judge everyone, they can't even walk on water. Just tell them to shut up, right? But let's get back to the telepathy thing, okay? When I first really, notice telepathy to the point where it was like even when I was a child, I knew it existed, and my parents would reassure me it does not. Okay, but when I really started getting like, I never, trust me, I never asked for it, I never wanted it, I never ever in a million years wanted anyone to read my thoughts. But I started noticing these psychic vampire type guys around me. And it was a group of guys who I do think sold their soul. I do. My ex-husband is one of them. And because he talked vaguely about how he thought tarot was evil because he bought the Aleister Crowley deck and that he used it for the wrong reasons and they had done something. He kind of vaguely let me know that while they were tripping on acid and all these drugs and things, that they might have done something they regret, and it really scared them. And I remember, like, one of his closest friends at the time, he went crazy, like batshit crazy. He did so many drugs, okay? And they had these little eye rings and stuff, and they were so cursed and so, like, whatever, that the bad luck that they were having was crazy unreal, okay? And one time I even saw this land burning. They called it Shangri-La in East Texas. And I knew it was them. Like, I knew it was a sign from spirit saying that this is how destructive they are. And it burnt several acres down. And long story is, these guys would read my thoughts and they would use it to try to hurt me or try to control me. And it got really old. But what made me the angriest was who ended up becoming my ex-husband manipulated me so much, because when they first started trying to manipulate my thoughts, I didn't think in words that much. A lot of people who don't know telepathy, we think in flashes, especially if you're a photographic memory type person. You see images, you might hear words, you might, it's pieces. Your mind works really fast, it's just different pieces. But I was groomed by my ex to use sentences and whole words, because he's constantly tapping into my head saying, say that again, say it in whole words. And like, one of the first times I realized that he could read my thoughts was whenever I kind of suspected it, because you feel them in your head, right? But I was with my boyfriend in high school, and I remember thinking to myself, God, I wish they could just leave so we can make out or something, And I was just being a facetious bitch because I was tired of him being there. Well, he immediately changed his body language, started to pout, got really sad, and left so sad, and he was manipulating me. He was trying to make me feel really bad for what I had thought. And he did this for years until he broke me, okay? And I remember his friend, the one who eventually went crazy, one time I could feel like he was reading my thoughts and trying to talk to me in my head. So one time I even tested it, and I was like, I'd really like to drink his blood. He looks tasty. And I thought that in my head just to see what he would do. And he like shook his head. He like freaked out and kind of smiled and started laughing. And I was like, okay. And this is just the beginning when I was not that good at it, guys. So, and then I had a guy rape me, and one of these guys. And he had told me like the day before, this, what is that Tuesday's Gone song or whatever was on. They all listened to classic rock there. It's like the only station they had. And it was on the radio. And I remember thinking in my head, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. Because the next day was Tuesday. And he looked at me and he said, you don't want to know. And I said, what? And he goes, you thought in your head, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. And he said, you don't want to know. I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, never mind, you'll see. The next day he came over, and I'm pretty sure, he got away with this because his uncle was selling drugs, and the police in Tyler, Texas are paid off by these drug dealers. And so anyway, I went to the bathroom. Well, he came over, and I was still in my pajamas. And these were not my parents are still the typical misogynists that think that women are raped because they're dressing seductive and stuff, okay? I mean, pajamas, like with the long sleeves, the big collar, the pants, nothing, promiscuous. And back then I was like 19, okay? So we had so many friends coming and going out of our house. We didn't think anything of it. These were all our friends from high school. We were all potheads and stuff, And anyway, and a lot of the hard drugs that this other guy who was my ex-husband was doing was weird stuff that I experimented, just like a lot of people did. I'm Aquarius, of course I want to experiment, but he was something really off about them, okay? And anyway, when this guy came over, I was like, oh, I hadn't even gone to the bathroom yet. I just woke up. So let me go to the bathroom. And I was trying to open my Dr. Pepper. I didn't drink coffee then. I just drank like a can of Dr. Pepper. And like, I didn't think anything of it because my hands are always so weak in the morning. Like, I can't do anything with them the first few minutes I'm up. I definitely can't open the can. It just like, I don't know why. I just have really weak hands when I'm sleepy. And so he said, here, let me get that. I'll open it, So I went to the bathroom, came back, and I started drinking my Dr. Pepper. And most of that day is kind of like a haze. Like, I think he drugged me then. And I remember what happened, but it was almost like I didn't, like, respond much. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I remember him even telling me that the same demon that's in him is also in who is now my ex-husband I have 2 kids with. And he was like, we have the same demon and I'm possessed and all this weird stuff. And it's a long, pathetically sad story that I don't want to get into. But I will say that, he multiple times during that day, he's like, quit. And I was like, what? And he's like, quit showing flashes and trying to make it hard for me to read your thoughts, and things like that. He was the only one. Sad to say, but the rapist was the only one who was honest enough to actually let me know he was doing it. Because my ex-husband was too sneaky and too evil and manipulative to let me know. He liked to tell me that it wasn't true so he could manipulate me more and make me doubt in myself. So anyway, let's fast forward for years later, because I hate to just keep going on about sad tales of Angel making bad decisions when she was young, right? So when I was a lot older, and I knew this telepathy existed. Well, I will say that after I was raped, I should say this part, like the doors to telepathy like opened so big that it scared me, because once you realize it's real and then you're raped, it's almost like you have a mental breakdown and your psychic walls are fully open. And once you open a door, you can't close it, right? And so like literally I could hear people thinking my psychic abilities shot through the roof so bad that like if I was at like a intersection, I could hear the thoughts of the guy turning left across from me in a big intersection. And I knew because like I'm hearing like, oh, fuck this and fuck that and blah, blah, how negative he was thinking. I looked up and sure enough, it is a guy. It looks about the same age of the man's voice I was hearing in my head. And I could actually tell, like, when someone's walking behind me, I'll know if it's an old woman or if it's a young guy. I'll hear big buff guys go, yeah, look at me. You know you want me, bitch. And I'm turning around and there's this buff guy walking around with muscles and he's, and acting like he's so tough. And I'm like, holy shit, you have an ego. Like, I didn't even see it when you're, like, thinking that, And, anyway, when I first was raped, I really did get scared because I could hear everybody's thoughts all the time. And like I could not shut it down. And I learned that there were certain things to do to stop it. First off, I can't smoke marijuana. I just can't. And this is not paranoia, guys. It's just that it enhances your psychic abilities. I don't know how people say it's good for PTSD. I mean, it's not for me. Because it causes paranoia and I can't control my thoughts. I can't protect myself or defend myself when I'm stoned, but I can hear everyone else's thoughts. So it makes me extremely vulnerable. I don't like that feeling. If you hear very, very strong, powerful psychics, they do not like to do stuff that alters them and makes them lose control of their mind because they understand how dangerous it is. For many years, I actually did have seasons where I drank a little bit too much. I don't want to say I ever drank as much as any of my partners or my own father or anyone else, but I did get to where I would drink sometimes to numb it and also to tolerate the sexual advances of the assholes in my life. Because as you can see, after you've been raped and stuff, you really don't have as much interest in sex, and yet every asshole just wants you more. So, long story short, I'm kind of glad they have like a term asexual now, because like I really have no interest in people treating me like a sex object. Like I have to trust you and love you to even remotely consider it. And even then, long story short is I did drink some for that. And for the longest time, alcohol kind of helped numb my psychic abilities. But after a while, it's like I still have it. I still can like see people's images and thoughts and things. But I will say, like, there are times when it served me, and yet I will say that I know this is so strange, but when you have psychic muscles, you can actually train yourself to not hear certain stuff and to hear certain stuff. So the way my psychic abilities work more now is that I don't ever do what psychic vampires do. Psychic vampires are like mental thieves. They tune into you, whether you want it or not, without your permission. They will tap into you and siphon you and listen to your thoughts, whether you want it or not. And they love doing it. They're predators. I don't like tapping into people's thoughts. I feel like it's almost like walking into someone's house and taking advantage of the fact that they forgot to lock their doors. It's wrong. It's wrong. Okay? So I don't try to tap into people's heads, but I will tell you that if somebody is thinking about me and they project to me, I will hear it. And I don't like it. Now, I'm pretty good at tuning it out a lot, because especially when there's assholes that are constantly trying to tell me shit in their heads. You know, it's like I know when the neighbor was bitching about my dog barking, but yet his dog is loose and it's against the law and running around. I'm like, okay, you can't put your dog up. You're going to bitch about my dog. And sure enough, I go out and there's their dog running loose and they're mad because, you know, they really want to tell my dog not to bark. And I'm like, this is what dogs do when your dog is running loose around my dog in a fence. And I just know this stuff, okay? Like one time, the kids were little. Before I fully understood how hypocritical, I was still trying to fit in the Christian group, you know, going to a Baptist church, which was so stupid. And this lady just had it out for me. She just didn't like me. And I didn't know. Both of my kids wanted to get baptized. They wanted to get baptized at the same time. It was so cute. It was so sweet. But this lady is one of those ladies who like wants all the kids to be converted only at Bible camp with me, because I'm the Savior. And when they go, we are so good at convincing them and showing them the love of Christ that that's when they want to be baptized. So when a little kid comes in with their parents and they want to be baptized, they don't know what it means and they're bad. Right? And so my kids wanted to be baptized. She wanted to interview them. We were so happy. We were so in a positive mood. We were so joyful. And as we started walking, I was holding her hands towards the door. The doors are clear. I heard her clear as day go, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do it. I want to tell him no. I don't know if she was telling the other lady that or she was just thinking in her head, but she's like, I'm going to turn him down. And the way she said it, I was like, all of a sudden my heart sank. And I was like, because here's a big thing that people will gaslight people for. They'll gaslight you and say that you are creating a negative situation because you're thinking negative. And psychics know there's a big difference in between thinking negative and creating negative circumstances and simply observing. If you're simply observing and have no opinion, but you happen to pick up on negative stuff, you're not creating shit. You're a watcher. You watch. I've always been big on observing and watching. That's what psychic people do. Okay. And so anyway, we walked in and sure enough, she like interrogated the kids. She took each kid in the office alone and she didn't do it lovingly. Like, hey, why do you want to be baptized, honey? You know, what does it mean to you? Do you know what baptism means? Is it special for you? Are you sure you're ready? No, it's more like, so what does baptism mean? Can you tell me? Do you even know what baptism is? Why do you want to do it? And she did it so harsh. And my daughter is like so like, she is so sweet and so shy that when she can pick up very easily when someone is harsh and mean and negative. And it scared her. She fucking scared my daughter, you know. And then she did my son too. Hurt his feelings. He was so ready to be baptized. Hurt his feelings too. And they both came out, you know, and she was like, I'm sorry, but your kids don't even know what it means. They're not ready. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is when I was like, I had almost tried to deny my psychic abilities at this point in my life because I was trying to fit in with my parents and their whole idea of life, right? And then not long after that, I was trying to I had a doctor who had prescribed me, the only way he prescribed me any pain medication for fibro is if I was taking another drug, which was like a chemo drug, which was actually making me sicker and making my lymph nodes flare. And I was like, look, you know, I can't keep taking this. He's like, well, then you can't have any more of the pain medicine, which is tramadol. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I need to find a doctor that can actually help me. And I had heard about this doctor in downtown Houston that, you know, worked with like chronic Lyme and chronic Epstein-Barr virus and all of these reasons to try to help me out with what could be the main reason why I was suffering so much. Because I had Epstein-Barr virus for over a year and a half. You know, I had a fever for 2 years. I mean, it was crazy. And so that's what really spurred the full-blown fibro, even though the fight or flight for years before was already bringing me to that point. And Anyway, I had tried to make an appointment with a doctor who knew what she was doing. And they said, she's booked, there's no openings, but we'll recommend you to someone who she thinks is really good. Boy, was that a bad decision. And I didn't know it until he was about to walk in the door. Because I was so happy and so hopeful that hopefully this guy understands internal medicine too. And hopefully he understands holistic medicine too. And I was so hopeful, right? And I was in the Nassau Bay area in Houston, and I was some rheumatologist, and I was sitting in the room, and all of a sudden, right before he came in the room, it's like the energy shifted because I started hearing him like make all these excuses of why, like, I'm not going to do anything to help her. This is so stupid. What a waste of my time. Like, he was just such an arrogant ass. And he came in and he degraded me so much. He devalued me so much. He was like, your blood tests are so perfectly normal. They look so good. I should pin them on my front door of the office to show everyone what a healthy person should look like. And I can't fix you if you have a flat, if your engine broke down, you can't fix a car with a flat tire, or I forget what it was. It was like, I think he was trying to suggest it was mental, but he got it backwards because he was like, I can look under the hood all I want to, but if it's a flat tire, then I can't help you. And I was thinking like, I walked in with a fever. Like I had a fever, legit, when I was there. And he still did that to me. And I knew. And, I really, when I was working here, I was a realtor for a while. And I figured out when they started gossiping about me, they discriminated against me because I happened to have a little bit of child support money. Because my ex-husband, has 6 figures because my father hooked him up with a good job. And this man abused me and he stole my money for years before we even divorced. And he ran away with like let's put it this way, he owes me like $500,000, okay? And so I literally was surviving on just enough money to like not qualify for food stamps for me and my kids. And so I became a realtor because I wanted to start making money on my own. I needed a job that I could work around with my fibro and everything, right? And they started talking shit about me at work, and I could hear it. I knew what was happening. It's so funny because when you walk in the room, they change the way they look at you and stuff, And it's hard dealing with this stuff when people are talking shit about you and they fucking fake it to your face. And you have to play nice and fake it too. Because they're not going to believe you if you say, yeah, I know what happened. Like I can actually see, I can kind of do remote viewing too. Like I can actually see whole conversations taking place. Sometimes it's something that happened in the past. Sometimes it's something that's happening in the present. Sometimes I can actually see a future conversation before it takes place. I can't explain why, but for some reason, my little psychic antennas grab onto what it thinks is vital to protect me. It's like I don't go and tap into people's personal lives. I don't care who you fuck. I don't care what your political opinions are or anything. But if you start thinking or talking about anything that affects me personally, my little psychic antennas will grab it and pull it in, and I can actually see it and I can hear it. Now, this is long and I hadn't gotten into why telepathy is not the superpower that you think it is. I've noticed, especially psychic vampires that know telepathy, they don't have empathy. And so it's so easy to lie to them. If they're reading your thoughts, they don't know what is truth and what is not because the truth is not in them because they have no love in them. So it's very easy to fool them, okay? All you have to do is use your words. It's that easy. They're idiots, okay? If they're basing their psychic abilities on only telepathy, it just doesn't work. Your body is wiser than your mind. And here's the thing. If you have been raised with a narcissistic parent, like my dad is probably the typical grandiose alpha male narcissist, right? A Marine, a petroleum engineer, he knows all. He's the smartest, wisest man in the world, and everybody else is wrong, okay? And I have the very enabling mother who flat out, if you tell her that you've been abused or mistreated by anyone or that your husband hurt you or harassed you or, she'll literally ignore you and pretend it didn't exist. She'll flat out change the subject and invalidate every single bad thing you go through. And because I have that kind of training, they say when you have a very narcissistic father, you have the tendency to hear no all the time. Like everything is a no. Everything you do is wrong. And it's the truth. It is the freaking truth. Like I am like so paralyzed in life because like I almost feel like no matter what I do, I'm wrong. And then my ex-husband was the same way. He was definitely narcissistic too, a little bit more covert. not as outspoken, but extremely narcissistic. Like he loved to hurt me. He loved to set me up to get hurt, and he kind of watched and smile. He enjoyed it so much. He enjoyed breaking me so much. And when I finally learned what he was and learned how to play offense, and like literally, like I have, like, he can't fuck with me anymore. He just can't, you know, it don't work. First off, I have been blocked psychically. Like, I don't give two shits what he thinks. I don't justify anything in my head anymore. You'll catch these narcissistic people will have you justifying shit in your head and arguing with them and justifying yourself and defending yourself. And I don't play that game no more. It's like, I'm off limits. I don't give two shits about you. You mean nothing to me, you know? But the thing is like, your body, your intuition in here, kind of like the thoughts in your heart, that's where it's at, guys. That guides you in truth so much more than if you think that you're being led by spirit guides or by the Holy Spirit or anything else, and you're depending on only words, you can be very, very easily manipulated. And if you have been programmed by a narcissistic school system, media, government, parents, partners, you will constantly feel wrong, and you're constantly in your head looking for reassurance that what you're doing is okay, and you will fail every single time because you will never quite be good enough. But once you learn that telepathy is useless compared to intuition, you're golden, because it won't fail you. You'll know which way to turn. You'll know what's okay. It's all right. It's all right to take risks. It's all right to go with that intuition, to go with the inner knowing. Quit using this so much. This is finite. This is human. This is limited. This is limitless. This is infinite. This is eternal. It's immortal. It's forever. You need to start focusing on this. This is what puts you in political and religious oppression. This is how people oppress you. This is how people use you. This is how people break you down. It's wonderful. Thinking is wonderful for evaluating, for, learning and growing, and for me to be able to communicate this to you. But you have got to learn that if you think, if you're like, man, if only I was good at telepathy, everything would be okay. First off, if you're trying to read other people's thoughts on purpose, against their will, that is no different than trying to break into their house. It's a crime. It's a spiritual crime. You're racking up shit karma for your future, and it's not right. And if you are picking up thoughts and you're hearing things psychically from other people, it can affect you, and it can hurt you, and it can make you feel ashamed, and it can make you scared. But once you start living here, it doesn't matter anymore, and you have truth. And you can live with that vital life force essence that makes life worth living again. I love it. I had to really work hard at listening here because of that programming from my parents of no, and my ex. No. No, you can't go shopping for groceries and spend money. But no, you can't have an empty fridge. And no, you can't do this. And no, you can't do that. That's wrong. Turning right, that's wrong. Parking there, that's wrong. I am so programmed by such narcissistic people that I always felt wrong. And when I started listening to this instead, no words needed, just a knowing, oh my God, it's the most freeing. That is a superpower. That is a superpower. That is how you can navigate in a world full of psychic vampires, narcissists, dangerous people, and demonic entities. That's another thing I need to say before I got to turn this off, my phone cuts off, is that if you're listening through telepathy, there are so many times when spirits, it can be angels and good spirits, it can be demonic spirits, it can be elemental spirits, it can be all kinds of things, are whispering into other people's heads too. And so many people are idiots and they can't tell the difference in between their thoughts and what's being projected into them. And they actually believe every thought that falls in their head, even if it's something evil whispering in their ear. But if they accept that thought, say something, whisper something, and you can do it even if you're not a bad person. Say this, something whispers in your ear and says, oh, they're so ugly. And you hear it. That other person that's reading your thoughts might actually hear it as your voice and think you thought that. And they'll think you're judging them. And there's other spiritual entities that will also think you're judging them, even though you never thought it at all. It just something was trying to come through you to create spirits of strife, spirits of chaos, So that's why you've got to get out of the thinking so much. I know I've got to end this before it shuts off. So I love you guys, and I bless you. Until next time.